we have finally made it to tier 10 on this video series. Now this British TD line, all the way up from, let's say, tier 5 to tier 9, had more of a playstyle of a slow-moving, just bunker armored tank with, a fast-firing, low-alpha gun, and towards the lower tiers, you get those howitzers and stuff. But the one thing I want to just emphasize before we even start this review is that the FV183, it has nothing to do with the rest of the line, and that's part of the reason why it's going to be a little bit to learn the tank's playstyle, and I'll try and go over it as much as I can in this video. But I really suggest you guys try out the test server, try this tank before you go for it, because it is a little bit unreliable. It's obviously very troll worthy, and you can just one-shot tanks and stuff like that. But with the Hesh mechanics and stuff like that, that'll also go over. It's a little bit iffy. In terms of reliability. So yep, let's start with this review. Alright, so now that we got all that stuff out of the way, pretty much we'll start on with this review, and yeah, let's get going. So first thing that we're going to go over is the 183mm cannon. Now, I don't know why Wargaming lists the characteristics at 182mm, but it says 183 up here, hence the name of the FV215B 183. Now, its rate of fire, obviously, with this Doom cannon, this tank is also known as, the Death Star, along with the Jagdpanzer E100 also being the Death Star. Pretty much interchangeable. Due to its AP rounds having the highest penetration in the game, that's why I carry 2. I'll get into that later, as in the late game, if you need a for sure penetration, and with the unreliable Hesh rounds that I'll go over also, I definitely want to carry at least 2 of them. So at the rate of fire being a stock 30 seconds, you can get that down with BIA, which I don't have yet, vents, and rammer. Along with that, it does have a little bit of extra, aim time and stuff, obviously, at 3.4 seconds. Terrible gun dispersion because it does have a turret, and you move pretty quickly at 34.3 kilometers an hour, with a max aiming at 0.4 at 100 meters. So it's almost like Soviet accuracy. Surprisingly, it does have a slow shell velocity time, but I don't think it's as long as like the E100 or stuff like that. I actually didn't find it more like a derp howitzer, which it basically is, but I didn't think it was that slow of a shell travel time compared to what I would think. Onto the penetration with the AP rounds, same alpha damage as the Jagdpanzer E100 at 1150, with the highest penning tank in the game with AP rounds at 310 penetration. Now, the Hesh rounds, listed as high explosive, have a blast radius of around 5 meters, a little bit over that actually. Now, that's comparable to a little bit over French artillery, so you're pretty much going to be an artillery cannon on the ground, and that's why this tank is so troll worthy. But with the Hesh mechanics, which I'll definitely link in the description, pretty much they act as a high explosive round that has more blast radius and higher penetration. So if it doesn't penetrate, you'll be hitting something probably most likely like spaced armor or a module or tracks or something like that. That isn't necessarily a full hitbox. It's going to be a hitbox, but there's going to be spaced armor and maybe hit a viewfinder or something like that. It's just going to detonate on impact and not fully penetrate and take out any. It may take out modules actually, but only from splash damage. But even with that, you're still going to be doing like 600 to 900 damage with splash, so it's really comparable to like a tier 9 or like 704, or even now the nerf to like E4, E3 cannons with not even penetrating. Now, if it does penetrate, you're going to be doing 1,750 alpha on average. So that's just a big boomstick. I have explained, that it is quite unreliable with the penetrations, but if you know where to shoot, and obviously you think and take time with your shots, it's going to be a way better time. So next we'll get into mobility, some armor type stuff and other characteristics. Alright, so the mobility on this tank is actually quite good. Compared to, let's say, any of the predecessors to this tank. If we go back to the tech tree here, all the way from the AT2, every single one of these I'm pretty sure has a 20 km/h speed limit, and that's not even on a flat. Probably around 18 to possibly that 20 if you have a removed speed governor, stuff like that. But coming from the tanks from tier 5 all the way up to tier 9 being, like I said, immobile bunkers, just pretty well armored with the great DPM and low mobility. The FV183 actually has quite good mobility. Its traverse rate is 32 degrees per second, and you do have a turret that, if I can kind of show you here, goes 45 degrees each way. So if you kind of parallel with this piece of armor here, you'll be able to reach there and reach over there. It does have a, I'll just round it up, whatever, 35 km/h speed limit, with similar pickup and go to something like an E4, maybe like an IS-6 or something that has pretty good pickup and go for a little bit of a heavier type tank. It does weigh 60 tons, so ramming is not recommended, but you can do it, with similar tiered tanks. Hit points at 2,000, which is great. Just a little bit weird because the Tortoise, I believe, has 2,000 also, so you don't get much of a hit point boost, but obviously with the tank's DPM actually being better than a Tortoise, also dealing most of your DPM at one time is a great plus. Turret traverse speed is 16 degrees per second with pitiful, very, very bad dispersion, so you'll be having to possibly put on a GLD, which I actually took off for some odd reason, so I'll put that on. Next, we'll go over armor, and stay tuned, yeah. Alright, so for the armor, hence the name FV215B, this tank is going to be on the same chassis as the heavy tank, so if we go ahead and kind of compare those, it has obviously a different turret and layout and stuff, but for the most part it's pretty much identical except for the side armor, disregarding the turret. So you're going to have 152 millimeters in the front, and that's going to be the upper plate at a pretty good angle actually. There are a few viewports and stuff, it's front engined obviously, but it's pretty good protection in the upper plate, especially if you angle. Lower plate's going to be more around like 50 millimeters of armor, also at a downward slope, so if you angle you can get a little bit of bounces, but obviously the engine deck being in the front and the 50 millimeters of side armor and relatively none in the back, if you get flanked and you're caught on reload, you're going to melt. So the only real part that will bounce on the turret is this upper frontal, I guess you could say mantlet, but it's not even, it's more like a gun wrapping because the mantlet has spaced armor there, but then there's this huge slab of 254 millimeters here. There are going to be various weak spots, oh my god, on this turret. It's just so squishy. So, like I said, it's a mantlet, but then under here is around 120 millimeters of armor. And then you have these little triangle parts here that are around 180 millimeters, but look at that, they're just flat. This whole turret's squishy. Now, the one thing that really pissed me off about the tank inspector and stuff, that when you look at it, if you look from the front, you would think that these two, I guess, slabs of armor there with these little ear things popping out are considered the front of the turret. But according to the tank inspector, and actually, the reality, it actually counts as the side of the turret, which I guess you can make an argument for that, but it's just, so that's pretty much 100 millimeters of armor on these here at no sloping at all. Same thing with the sides here, and the ammo rack compartment is a whopping 76 millimeters of armor. So overall, this thing's armor isn't going to be that reliable, but if you trade shots well, and you're going to be dealing so much damage, it's it's a fair trade. So next we'll go over some consumables, modules, equipment, and crew skills, and then we'll get into some gameplay, which will hopefully be action packed. Alright, so for the crew skills, I actually have one here, and I'll go ahead and put some camo on him. We have not even a full crew skill because I didn't feel like training them up to 100% with gold, even though it was half off, because I'm like that. The only real skills that are mandatory on this tank are obviously Sixth Sense, and on top of that, I like to have repairs as opposed to camo, because this thing's camo is not that great. It's a little bit better than the E4 and E3, but it's nothing like a Foch 155 or a 268. So definitely repairs, and especially if you get tracked out in the open on reload, you're gonna be melted within seconds, so definitely repairs for first. If you want to go ahead and get camo as your second, that's definitely recommended. Other things that I can recommend are safe stowage, definitely snapshot, and smooth ride, stuff like that. Possibly even intuition or something if you want to change shells really quickly. But that's pretty much it for the crew skills. Now we'll go on to equipment. Now definitely a large caliber tank gun rammer, that's a given. Vents or binocs or camo net, you know, it's all up to you. But I prefer to have vents, just get that reload down as much as you can. And the third one, I'm actually going to go ahead and put on enhanced gun laying drive, but I don't feel like taking the credits and doing that. So I'm going to take it off of one of my other tanks that I do not play as much, such as my E4. Go ahead and demount that. Spend the gold, don't care, put it on here. Now, obviously with this tank's reload and its immense amount of alpha, it only carries 12 rounds, so that's just proof that this thing is basically a land arty. So I don't even know why they offer normal high explosive rounds here. It's just not worth it. You know, definitely 8,000 credits for every gold shell, which you're hopefully going to only be firing gold, is pretty much a credit sink. I mean, the most I've made in this tank is probably 25k on like for mastery first class while firing gold, so you're normally gonna lose or break even hopefully, but definitely with this tank you can, you know, foresee in the future losing a lot of credits, but it is worth it. It's so fun. So I load 10 Hesh rounds pretty much just because they're, in my opinion, it's worth rolling the dice and seeing if you get a full pen. You know, you're going to be doing, like I said, 600 to 900 damage anyway, so might as well spend that 8,000 credits. Just make sure you hit the tank and don't whiff. On top of that, you know, since it holds 12, I just go 10 and then 2 AP, just in case for low health tanks towards the end of the game where you need a sure pen. As consumables go, I just run automatic fire extinguisher. This thing is a front engine tank, and your fuel tank and engine will get hit. Not a lot, but every once in a while. Small first aid kit, small repair kit, and you're good to go. So next we'll have some gameplay, and also show some show some clips about you know, one-shotting tanks such as waffles, low tier, medium, stuff like that, and hopefully get you guys going. So yep, stay tuned. Alright, so replay numero uno. We have a standard battle on Runeberg with a pretty stacked team. Unicum Tortoise, PTA, Bat Chat that does really well. We have me and Money30 platooned on our team, both in Boomstick, Death Star number 1 and Death Star number 2. Let's see how this goes. Alright, so obviously, gonna load in some Hesh rounds, see what we can one-shot. Alright, so with this 9.0 update, you know, it's quite frustrating with the graphics and such, but in my opinion, graphics are okay. The HD models definitely were a plus, you know, with the suspension and everything, getting less pentagonish. But, you know, with the pretty much the FPS sync, I don't think it was worth it, in my opinion, but whatever. We'll deal with it. Alright, so we got a T-57 Heavy and these two mediums that YOLO'd into the little pocket there at F5. And the 62A is getting himself spotted. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm thinking to myself with money, I go, I want to one-shot this 62A. So, obviously there are going to be massive amount of TDs up in their base or possibly in the town, and no one's really gotten spotted yet, but I say fuck it, let's go YOLO style. I do that in a little bit, and you'll see me get some good hits in, but for the most part I'm pulling back just because I want to get a couple spots by my teammates, especially as mediums in the field, because that 57 can just crest up, shoot me 5 or 4 times rather, and pull back, and I'll be hopefully not dead. But little risky thing that I do here definitely works out, and you'll see that it does. So I go in for the kill. So I do hesitate a little bit in case he proxied me, but my Sixth Sense does not go off, so that's a big plus right here. So you know, our mediums are working the ridge. We got E100 side scraping in town, hopefully doing okay, which looks to me like he just got penned, but he's okay. So the 62 actually was hitting the E100 in the butt, so I want to make sure and take him out quick. So the 62 backs himself into the little cubby, shoots the E100 a couple times, and here we go with this massive aim time. Shoot him right in the upper plate, one-shot him pretty much. So 15-19 right to the T-62A's upper plate. Yeah, I think I'll live with that. So here we go with the long 25-second reload of the 183 without BIA. Now obviously I got spotted by that. There is artillery, they're pushing the right flank. I need to either get in that cubby, take it from the 432, or go help my teammates on the right flank. Now the east flank looks okay to me now as I'm taking a peek. We still have a lot of health, we have a lot of mediums up there to brawl it out with those lower tiers. There's a 704, a T57, IS3, stuff like that, but whatever. So here's the 432. I know he's still in that cubby behind the 62A because he saw his friend get blown to shreds, and now it's his turn. So here's this 430 V2. I do peek out, try and take a shot, and he misses. So what I do is this is the thing where you have to take your time with the shots. You got to get a shot on a normal piece of armor, and I wait for the tracks. He gives me his frontal hole, and I pen him right in the upper plate for 1700 damage. So 2 shots, around 3.3k damage. Yeah, that's how this tank works pretty much. So you definitely do have to take your time with shots, and especially in a moment like this where we've got a 268 overlooking me. As I take another shot here, try and see this. You don't really have to take your time because it's 700 damage. You're gonna splash that anyway, and I shoot him right in the hole and get the kill. So pretty much with that 432, I wanted to make sure that I got a shot on the hole because he could just circle jerk me if I really missed or didn't get a high roll, So I was quite confident that I would get that average roll because RNG is my friend, hopefully. So here we go. Things are raveling up. Money gets killed by another Jagdpanzer, and here's a Waffle Panzer IV. And he peeks out, says nope, and runs away. Now he's sitting there, hopefully going to try and peek on me, but I don't really see it. So there's that fire that I say, the frontal transmission. So he sets me on fire, and here we go. He gets shot once, and I shoot him for 1080. So here's an enemy T-34. I try to angle, but he does shoot me in the drive wheel, which, nothing you can do there. It's just peek and shoot. With my reload here, I end up pretty much isolating myself in here for the reload to make them come at me and hopefully joust into me. But this Waffle Panzer IV actually gets derped by the Jagdpanzer E100, and T-34 wants to play, so I back up, angle my armor a little bit in case he does have a shot at me. Looks like he does. He takes a shot into my upper plate at an extreme angle and auto bounces. So what I need here is my Waffle to hold on, make sure that E3 doesn't come around as I hold down this flank. Our mediums are storming in, and so is this Jagdpanzer apparently. So we'll go ahead and splash him. I don't know what he's doing, because even if I had normal HE loaded, I would shoot him for 300. So I could pretty much shoot him anywhere, shoot him right in the upper hole, and there is 5 kills on 5 shots. So Reaper is definitely a possibility in this specific tank. Every single time you hit someone, it's just gonna be a boomstick, and this thing is just so ridiculous. So 5k damage with 5 shots, I'll deal with that, 1000 average damage. So I'm really working for the top gun here. I want it, but he runs away. Now I shoot the E3, and I shoot him in the butt, get the top gun. Now pretty much 6k damage. I guess I'll round it up with 6 shots. I'll deal with that any day. A lot of them obviously were not really that big of kills, like the Jagdpanzer 100, that E3 right there, he stood no chance. But especially those 2 medium kills and the Waffle kill, yeah, those are good examples of how this tank can just one-shot pretty much anything. So next we'll have the after battle reports, and then we'll go on with a couple other clips that I want to show you guys, maybe another gameplay, and stay tuned. Alright, so here's a clip of a few good high rolls that I just want to show you guys before we end this video. Pretty much of me almost one-shotting a Waffle and then leaving an E4 with 12 health. The one thing that I see with this cannon is it can get up to, I think, like 2,200 damage or something like that, but the high rolls don't come as much, and it's just RNG, but pretty much I want to show you guys this just to have a little fun here. So me and this Waffle are pretty much 1v1ing. There's the fire that always happens, and look at that, 1829 right to his turret. So if I did have a normal HE round, that probably may have rolled higher, but I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up a little bit and show you guys my hit on the E4, which happens kind of soon once I'm reloaded. So this E4 on the right has 2,000 health, and He's at full health. I get a pretty good, really good roll here, as I leave him with 12 health at 1998 being the damage I inflicted on him. So I just wanted to show you guys those two high rolls and pretty much show you how 2 hits in this tank can almost be 4,000 damage. And, you know, definitely show you guys how the win 8 threshold is pretty much, you know, around 3,000 damage for this tank, and how it's definitely a really fun tank. Definitely recommend you guys get it. We'll have a few more clips of me pooping on another waffle and then a mouse also. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Enemy armor is damaged. Got him. Enemy vehicle.
Alright guys, to conclude this video, just want to definitely emphasize again that the 183 is definitely a really troll tank. Very fun tank. Probably one of my favorite tier 10s at the moment. You know, definitely a tank that has a lot of potential. Even in Clan Wars it's been used a little bit. Definitely recommend you guys get it. Just keep in mind that from the tier 5 up to tier 9 is a completely different playstyle than the tier 10, but overall the grind was not bad at all. It didn't feel like much of a grind. I mean, all the tanks are pretty much solid tanks, but they can get a little bit frustrating at times due to the mobility and stuff. But 1A3, definitely 10 out of 10. Only bad, real downside to it is the credit sync. I mean, if you guys own an E100, you'll know about that. But that's pretty much all I can think about in this review. Hope you guys like this review. Happy tanking. Good luck on the battlefield. See you next time.